When California burns, the world watches. Today, we're going to dig into why these aren't just any fires. They've become a symbol of a much, much bigger crisis, one that's destructive, deeply political, and impossible to ignore. Okay, so let's get one thing straight. Wildfires happen all over the world. From the Australian bush to the forests of Canada, fire is a natural part of the planet. It's been happening forever. And yet, there's something about California, isn't there? When those hills start to burn, it just hits different. It becomes this massive global headline. So what is going on? Why does this one state feel like the epicenter of it all? To really get it, we have to start right there. We have to understand how and why California basically became ground zero for this global crisis. See, it's not just about the sheer number of acres burned. It's about how loud these fires are. The media attention is relentless, the economic cost is staggering, and all of that just fuels this intense political fight that turns every single fire season into a national debate. So, how did we get here? What makes California such a tinderbox ready to explode? Well, it turns out it's not just one thing. It's more like a recipe for disaster. A perfect storm created by 4 key ingredients. Okay, first up, you've got the new climate reality. Fire seasons are just longer and hotter now. Fires don't really die down at night like they used to. Number 2, you have California's unique geography. Those infamous Santa Ana and Diablo winds, they whip through the canyons and basically turn them into blowtorches, pushing flames faster than any human can run. Third is where we decided to build our homes. Millions and millions of houses are in what's called the wildland urban interface, which is just a fancy way of saying we built communities right up against areas that are designed to burn. And finally, and this one is a real mind-bender, is something called the fire paradox. For about 100 years, the official policy was to put out every single fire immediately. Seemed like a good idea, right? But what it actually did was allow a century's worth of fuel, dead trees, dry brush, to pile up. We basically created the kindling for the megafires we're seeing today. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? None of this happened by accident. It was the result of decades of decisions that probably made sense at the time, but are now colliding head-on with the brutal reality of a much warmer, drier world. And look, this whole perfect storm idea isn't just a theory. You can see it playing out in real time. Let's just look at a quick timeline of a few recent fires that completely changed the game and taught us some incredibly hard lessons. Things really started to spiral in 2017. The Tubbs fire was the big wake-up call. It ripped through Santa Rosa and proved that fires weren't just a problem for remote forests. They could devastate urban neighborhoods too. Just 1 year later, 2018 brought the breaking point, the Camp Fire. It became the deadliest in modern U.S. history, and it didn't just damage a town, it literally wiped the community of Paradise off the map. And then, in 2020, we saw a terrifying new scale with the August Complex fire. It was the state's first gigafire, burning over 1 million acres and showing us in no uncertain terms that some fires are just too big for us to control. And to really get what an event like the Camp Fire felt like for the people there, you just have to hear this quote. This wasn't some orderly evacuation. This was a desperate, terrifying life-or-death escape from a monster that was moving faster than the cars on the road. So here's the really crucial takeaway from this timeline. Each of these disasters taught us a new, painful lesson about just how vulnerable we are. But here's the thing. Learning a lesson from a catastrophe and actually solving the problems that cause it, well, those are 2 totally different things. And that failure to solve the problem, well, that's where the embers of the disaster jump from the forest and ignite a whole other kind of fire, the political firestorm. This is such a critical point. The flames do more than just burn trees and houses. They put our entire system under a microscope, a massive stress test. And right now, the cracks are showing everywhere, in our insurance industry, in our economy, and absolutely in our politics. And one of the first and biggest cracks to appear was insurance. I mean, think about it. After paying out billions and billions in losses, some of the biggest insurance companies are just saying no more. They're pulling out of the state or refusing to write new policies, leaving hundreds of thousands of homeowners completely stranded and making the Californian dream financially uninsurable for a lot of people. And maybe inevitably, the whole thing became political theater. On one side, you had then-President Trump, who focused almost entirely on forest management, blaming the state and using confusing rhetoric like release the water. On the other side, you had Governor Newsom pushing back, pointing to climate change as the main culprit and asking for federal cooperation instead of public fights. The results of this political tug-of-war? Total confusion. And as this quote says, it created an environment where sometimes it felt like the misinformation was spreading even faster than the fire itself. So all of this, it forces us to ask a really tough, really uncomfortable question about our future. Is this it? Is this the new normal? Because it's pretty clear that California's fires have become something more than just fires. They are now impossible to ignore climate signals. They are political weapons. They are massive economic stress tests. And for so many people, they are a deep, recurring cultural trauma. And this image, it captures that reality perfectly. For so many communities, recovery isn't a one-time thing you do after a disaster. It's just a constant state of being, always lived under the shadow of the next fire season, and the one after that. Which leaves us with this one last critical question. Because let's be honest, this isn't just about California anymore. This is happening everywhere. So if this is the future, are we as a country actually prepared for a new reality where major disasters aren't rare events, but are just a permanent part of our lives, and where the very act of recovery is political?